This kind of special edition video is for all of the kayakers out there. Or, well, frankly, I guess all of the paddlers out there. Or maybe even all of the outdoors people who enjoy outdoors activities. Or exploration in general. Maybe it's for travelers and explorers. Maybe it's actually for a lot of people. But what I'll talk about mainly, what I'll use as an example here, is kayaking, which has become most of my own paddling journey. Even though I've done some stand-up paddleboarding, and I've done a little bit of canoeing, and I've tried out a few packrafts here and there. Kayaking is ultimately what has come to take up a lot of my spare time in recent years. And it's something I obviously enjoy tremendously, but I suppose what I'll discuss in this video could apply equally if you're a paddler of other paddler crafts, or as I said, if you're just an outdoors person or explorer in general, because a lot of what I do as well has to do with traveling and exploration and just exploring and finding new things to see from new angles in a new way for the first time, or re-explore existing areas. In all cases, this is a bit of a special edition video, as I said, because actually this YouTube channel where you are watching this, Air on the Water, actually recently reached 5 million views. 5 million views is, well, it's not a ton if you're one of the huge YouTubers out there. It's still a relatively small channel, but when I started this a little over 3 years ago, I could definitely not imagine that this channel would reach 5 million views. So it's a bit of a special edition for that milestone, and thanks to everybody who's watching. But then what will I be talking about? Well, it's not really about me that I am most interested in here. I know my perspective and I share that going forward in this video, but I'm also interested in your perspective. What is your journey, and how come you enjoy kayaking or paddling or the outdoors or exploration or whatever it is? What are your experiences like? What is it that you enjoy the most? How did you actually come to start this hobby, and how have you developed your skills or the way you approach the sport or different activities that you take part in? How has that changed over time? So as I continue this video, I invite you to reflect on your own journey, however many years that has been. For me, I'm in my 5th paddling year, if I don't count some canoeing many years back. So it's not been a long journey in the sense that some people have paddled for decades, but it's been some 5 years almost filled with experiences and definitely some development and different ways of enjoying kayaking and paddling in general that I really had no idea about when I started. So I'll talk about this, kind of taking the 5 million views milestone as an opportunity to look back, and as I do that, you will see different moments from my paddling journey, which started back in 2021. Accidentally, actually. I went to a local decathlon store where I live in Stockholm, in Sweden, and I was actually looking for bike parts. I have no idea about kayaking actually as such, other than what anyone does. I had no particular interest in it. I was there for buying things for my bike, but I happened to stumble upon the shelves with inflatable kayaks in backpacks, and I was kind of impressed by that, what appeared to be a usable paddlecraft could actually pack down into backpacks that frankly looked quite good. So I went back and forth a couple of times, each time saying, well, that's interesting, but I'm not going to buy anything. I'm just wanting to learn a little bit more about it. And of course, after the third time I went past that aisle, I left the store with a kayak on my back, and completely unplanned, that's how my journey started. And since then, I am now a kayak leader. I am a coordinator of kayak leaders. I manage and create my own paddling events together with a few paddlers. I have supported other events such as swimming events as a safety coordinator for paddlers. I organize trips together with other kayak leaders through the Swedish Outdoor Association in the archipelago or whatever it might be. So I do sea kayaking and solo kayaking and winter kayaking and cold water kayaking, and I travel and I explore, and most of all I do portable kayaking, which most people watching this channel will recognize me from, bringing my kayak with me in a backpack along with me as I actually explore new places. I have a project called Paddling in 100 Cities, which I created because I've always loved travel. So far I've visited 80 countries, but it should be a much higher numbers in a number of years, a much higher number in a number of years, I hope. But that's mostly been on land. It's only been in recent years that I realized that, hey, instead of renting a kayak and being limited to the place where I'm visiting and rental locations and such, I can actually bring one of my inflatable kayaks and paddle wherever I want, and I've done that in a lot of places. So the Paddling in 100 Cities project is a great opportunity for myself to simply challenge myself to see new places and not paddle where it's most convenient, but rather expand my horizons and go to new places, both here in Sweden, to other cities, but it doesn't have to be just cities. It can be the nature around those cities, of course, or it can be the sea or lakes outside those cities, or rivers or whatever. So I do travel quite a bit, and I do enjoy that a lot. While the logistics can sometimes be quite heavy, it means that most of the time I don't go by car. I go by train or ferry or bus or whatever it might be, tram or something, meaning that I can bring my kayak to the water as long as there's public transport somehow nearby, and I can start my paddle, and after a day or a number of days I might end up in a completely different location, and as long as there's transport there, I can get back, so I don't need to limit my paddling to where the car is. Although, of course, I do go on a lot of trips as well where there's car transport involved, especially when I'm a kayak leader, or if I go with friends on perhaps multi-day expeditions where you go with a lot more gear, etc. So I do a lot of paddling, a lot of it with portable kayaks, but also standard sea kayaking, if you will. And as such, I do a mix of inflatable, to a small extent folding kayaks, and then hardshell kayaks as well. Seeing a lot of what kayaking can actually be. Everything from the smallest, slowest, tiniest kayak, which is extremely portable, to quality sea kayaks that can move quite quickly and are adapted for the sea waves. And I do the whole range from basically solo kayaking, kayaking on my own with all the safety considerations that come with that, recognizing that I need to be responsible for my own safety and be more prepared than I would in a group. But that too, actually being part of or even leading groups of kayakers, sometimes taking part of events up to, I think the record is about 130 kayakers at the same time, to leading groups of maybe up to 25 kayaks or so, normally more like a dozen kayaks or something like that, during sea kayaking trips or whatever environments that might be. And as I record this in September 2025, I have just returned from a kayak leader festival in Stensund, on the east coast of Sweden, a bit southwest of Stockholm, the capital, where quite a number of kayak leaders joined together to develop their skills and network and share experiences, etc., etc., through the Swedish Outdoor Association, Friluftsfrämjandet, where I'm also now quite active as a volunteer, as an instructor in actually crisis preparedness, if you believe it, which doesn't have so much to do with paddling, but that's one part of it, and as a kayak leader and coordinator of kayak leaders. I am the initiator behind Swedish Air Kayak Day, which gathers inflatable and folding kayaks and packrafts each year, and I'm a co-organizer for that with another paddler, and I have created a number of events and such, and I have created the winter kayaking and cold water kayaking and paddling safety and many other Facebook groups online, which also connect to this channel, Air on the Water, and that is a bit of a platform aimed at making paddlers safer and sharing information between paddlers that help make it more fun, more safe, etc., etc., for paddlers worldwide. And at least the winter kayaking group now has about 21,000 members. Definitely is having some impact. And this channel, I would again like to thank all of the people who have followed this channel and watched videos, liked, commented, shared, whatever it is. It all contributes to this project, which is aimed at the same thing, making paddlers safer, more informed, and helping them enjoy their time on the water. Because when I started as a paddler, I was tremendously helped by information online on YouTube. And when I had gotten into it a bit, I realized once I had to learn a few things, and I'm still learning a lot of things, I recognize the value that information like this can sometimes have. So I wanted to help out as well and give back, and that's what this channel is all about. Air on the Water, the name of the channel, is obviously from the fact that most of my kayaks have been inflatable. But as I've stated, I also use hardshell kayaks, so I do the whole mix. And at this point, I've owned, I'm not sure exactly the number, it's somewhere between 10 to 12 kayaks of different sorts and 2 stand-up paddle boards. I now have only 1 stand-up paddle board and 10 kayaks or less, let's say. So I've gotten rid of a few simply because you can't use them all. But I still have a substantial fleet, and the variety of all of those kayaks, plus the kayaks I use from my local association of the Swedish Outdoor Association, Friluftsfrämjandet Norrviken, or other settings where I use sea kayaks. Well, that is also rewarding. So I do paddle a lot of different kinds of paddle crafts, and given the portable paddling, maybe I paddle a little bit different than many people do. But anyway, back to you. There was a lot of information about me and this channel simply because, well, I hit a milestone. We hit a milestone, 5 million views. That's quite a lot. So thank you again to everybody who's watching. But the real topic of the video was basically, what's your journey? What was your experience when you started? How did it come about, and how has your experience changed over the years? How has your learning journey gone, and have your priorities changed a bit? For me, for example, I mean, I'm now spending a lot of my time volunteering as a kayak leader, which means I do more paddling in groups than I used to do. I used to do a lot more solo kayaking. I still do that, but not as much, simply in terms of time. That doesn't mean that I have stopped. I still have trips planned this year to Bosnia and Herzegovina, where I aim to go paddling, to Tunisia, where I will be traveling with friends, and also will try to bring a kayak along for a little bit of paddling at least. So I mean, my if you're a traveler, if you're an explorer, you know that feeling of going to new places and seeing them in a new way. And kayaking certainly allows you to do that, or paddling. I mean, I rented a paddleboard outside Barcelona once. The waves were crazy. I wasn't really ready for that with my paddleboarding skills at the time, but it was a lot of fun still. And I mean, I've taken my portable kayak to places where very few people paddle, simply because it's difficult to access with good parking spots or getting out of the water or whatever. But with a portable kayak, often you can do that. So for me, kayaking really has been a continuation of my travel interest for many years back. But what's your motivation? What drives you? Why do you enjoy paddling or kayaking or the outdoors? Is it the beauty of nature? Is it the company of other paddlers or people you have with you? Is it the technique or the speed or the challenge or distances or targets or whatever? There are many motivations, and for me, I was driven by targets initially. I thought it was fun to challenge myself during the second calendar year, where I had paddled basically a year and a half. I was really trying hard to reach 1,000 kilometers paddled before the end of the year, and that meant some crazy kilometer chasing in December, winter, that end of year. And again, for someone who does a lot of sea kayaking primarily, it would have been easier. But remember, I started out with relatively slow inflatable kayaks, meaning that the distances will be a lot less in terms of statistics, even if the time paddled might be the same as someone in a faster kayak. So in all cases, those 1,000 kilometers, it was great when I finally hit that target in front of Stockholm City Hall on a cold winter day. Classic location for paddlers here, so it felt kind of appropriate. And on that trip, I saw ice on the water and heard ice music, and I saw so many things and had a great trip. Among many other great trips, I've seen so much basically along the way. But since then, those targets and in the initial challenge for myself to paddle at such and such speed and so on and so forth has given more ways for me to more towards just enjoying paddling and enjoying new places. I'm no longer quite as interested in paddling a particular distance or paddling at certain speeds and such and such. I'm more in it for the nature or exploration experience, or more mission focused if it is, of course, that I'm leading a group, making sure that the group is safe and that they have a good experience, and collaborating with my other leaders. So that has changed a bit, although I'm still looking forward to challenges in the future. I'd still like to do some long paddling targets. So far, my longest paddling trip in an inflatable kayak is 42 kilometers in a day still. A kayak marathon, that was a challenge a number of years back. And in a hardshell kayak, just 50 kilometers in a day, although that was in a plastic, relatively slow hardshell rental kayak. If I had had a quality kayak, a quality sea kayak, I could probably have done a lot more. So at some point, I'm going to want to do a much longer paddle like that, or longer expedition paddling trips than I've done, or whatever. But for me, it's mostly about what I see along the way. It doesn't really matter to me if I'm in a relatively slow kayak and taking my time, because even that can be awesome. For example, taking my kayak to Vilnius in Lithuania and letting the river push me along for some bit. Even my slowest kayak makes for a great experience. And that's basically how I try to plan my adventures. It would be interesting to hear how you plan yours. Basically, whatever paddlecraft I'm in, I try to find ways to make the journey enjoyable. And in some cases, it wouldn't be optimal to have one of the fastest sea kayaks. It would be much more advantageous on narrow creeks, for example, where you have to turn a lot, to have a much shorter kayak, even if that's an inflatable. So yeah, a lot of stuff there. And I've had quite a number of kayaks, as I mentioned. Inflatable kayaks from actually not that many brands. It's from Kokopelli, from Advanced Elements, and from Itiwit. Then I do have a folding kayak, a track kayak actually, with hydraulics that I still need to take out and explore more with. But different models with different characteristics, and so many adventures have been had with friends and alone. I do enjoy solo paddling quite a bit, because it allows me to explore and set the pace and parameters for my own adventure just the way I feel like on that day. When you're paddling with others, you have to adapt, of course, but you also have the advantage of company and all of the fun that comes with a shared experience. So I enjoy a bit of both. I suppose this is for travelers very much the same thing. Whether you travel alone and again create your own adventure at your own pace and defined by your own will and priorities, whatever you feel like, basically. But on the other hand, if you travel with others, you have the joy of company and the shared experience and the fun that you can have, and sometimes the logistics where you need to be more than one person, of course. But anyway, there's a sweet spot where you get to do a little bit of both. So what's your priority? Do you prefer to go alone, or do you prefer to paddle with others? It also varies a bit over time. I think for me right now, when I'm paddling more together with others in organized activities that also come with a lot of planning work and efforts before and sometimes a little bit after the activities, I suppose I do miss the time where I basically did a lot of paddling where it was just focusing on my own paddling experience, and all of the preparations were really just packing up gear to get ready for the paddle, and afterwards it was just packing stuff down and maybe washing and cleaning the kayak and gear and whatever, and just logging that in my paddle log. Now there's a bit more administration around more organized trips, so that does take time, but it's also rewarding in its own way. And of course you get to work with a lot of great people there as well, like in the Swedish Outdoor Association, for example. So there's a lot to be experienced here, but during these 5 million views, if you will, which then represent almost 5 years, it's the 5th calendar year now of paddling for me, and 3 years, a little bit more than 3 years on YouTube. A lot of experiences are included in those 5 million views, and many of you I know who are watching have been along for the journey, and I'd like to thank you for that. All of the other paddlers and all of the other creators and people who you share ideas and experiences with and kind of provide inspiration either by paddling with you on actual trips or from afar, like friends like George the River Rat in the UK, or David Poots in Ireland, or Leonard in Singapore, or Fishaholic Boy in Hong Kong, or Mary Beth, a paddle adventurer in Canada, or there are so many actually that, again, like every time I start doing a list like this, it will be unfair because there will be a lot of people that I don't get to mention, so it's better to stop before I go into the list. But you guys, you know who you are. I will mention Ed from Finland, actually a UK paddler, because of one fun occasion where we actually both were traveling to Riga, Latvia, a number of years ago, and we realized that we were going there more or less the same time. So either I or he, we adapted our travel schedule so we had an overlap, and we would actually be there on the same day because we both actually had the same kayak, an Itiwit X500, the same kind of kayak, and as such we met for the first time by the water there, he brought his mascot, a Moomin troll, which he has on his kayak, and we actually went exploring the rivers and canals of Riga, and had a great time. We had never met before, but we shared the reference of having the same kind of kayak and knowing what one could do with that, and we had a great time on the water. So that's just one really interesting episode where we ended up paddling until dark in Latvian waters over there. I've also had great experiences paddling with my cousin and her other fellow kayak leaders. My cousin Beatrice is a kayak leader and also a coordinator of many kayaking events and other aspects in her association or kayak club in Finland. And they've been kind enough to take me out into the archipelago and on the local lake by their club, Lohjanjärvi. And I've also met other Finnish kayakers while paddling in Helsinki. For example, Inka, a paddler that I've also paddled here in Stockholm with, and had an expedition happening with her group as I was paddling in Helsinki, and I happened to be able to paddle together with that group as they were heading out, which was a lot of fun. And I've done a lot of those kinds of spontaneous things where an opportunity opens up and you go and meet people, and that's just great. We've also had, for example, we had Jennifer from the Well Traveled Life channel stop by in Stockholm, and we brought together some paddlers and organized a spontaneous trip here in Stockholm. We also had another paddler, Peter, join us in cold winter here in Stockholm for the Nightlight Kayak Parade, Lucia Paddling, which is organized every year. And he actually traveled, I think, 35 hours or something like that from Munich by train with his portable kayak and joined us in cold winter. And also we went paddling later on the other side. This was the time where the police later stopped us because we were a bit strange looking in our dry suits as we got out of the water. And it was something where we filled... streets were filled with diplomatic vehicles and whatnot and police escorts because of the Nobel festivities. Quite an interesting experience. Then, people like Don Erik and Erika Westerlind, who live a little bit further north in Sweden. We've done some great paddles where we've shown each other around in different areas where they live, where I live. And you have a lot of spontaneous and planned experiences. Some of them are definitely better in company, and the experience of others can be really valuable to you. It would be interesting to know who is valuable in your paddling journey. Which are the people around you that really help you out and have helped you develop, or that you enjoy paddling with, etc. Then again, sometimes it's again about going out on your own adventure. Like when I went to Norway and another cities, Karlstad in Sweden, on the same trip, and I ended up paddling in winter actually as the first snow started falling. Almost half a kilometer under a tunnel under Oslo train station, where there was basically you could hear the sound of trains rumbling right above you. Quite something. I mean, there are so many awesome experiences that come with a sport like paddling and kayaking. Night paddling, there are so many different ways to experience this sport. It can be on rivers, on lakes, on seawater, in the city, whatever. So it's really a fantastic way to see things from another perspective. I mean, if you're interested in hiking and you enjoy nature that way, seeing things from the water is a completely different thing. And sometimes you can combine both by bringing a packraft along, for example, on your hike. So yeah, this so far has been a very interesting journey, and I think I'll stop here because this has been a long monologue already. It would again be interesting to hear your thoughts on your paddling journey so far, or your outdoors journey, or exploration journey, or travels in the comments below. And of course, do subscribe if you haven't already, and welcome to check out the playlists on this channel on different topics like traveling and paddling, or paddling in winter kayaking, or safety, or whatever it is. It's been great so far here on YouTube to be able to share experience and ideas and learning points as I keep learning and developing as a paddler and kayak leader and such, and definitely all of the perspective and knowledge of others. So I will try and continue doing exactly that here on YouTube and as a paddler. If you're here in Stockholm or we cross paths, well, then sooner or later you'll meet me on the water. But yeah, paddling again was definitely not an expected activity for me, but it's been something that really has grown into a hobby that is quite rewarding and quite interesting, and has taken up so much more of my time than I could ever have expected. But it's also been the source of so many amazing experiences and some great connections and new friendships and such. So, well, to everybody who's been part of the journey, either because we met on the water or online or on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, or if you've been a supporter or viewer here on the channel, well, thanks. And let's keep networking. Let's keep sharing ideas. And thank you for watching. And as I always say, stay safe out there and happy paddles or happy adventures. See you in the next one.